I think with AI, there's lots of very cool applications that you can integrate with PR, but AI is only as good as the prompts that you're doing. And to come up with those creative prompts, you have to have that mindset of like, how can I use AI in a very personalized, brand focused way that is going to have the best, in this case, public relations outcome?
All right, in today's fast-paced realm of business and sales, you need to have a piece of software that makes everything seamless. And that's your CRM. It should be the single source of truth for your business. It should help you track your pipeline, manage leads, help your team collaborate easily, and honestly just automate a lot of the annoying stuff that trips up your workflow. That's exactly what the new HubSpot Sales Hub brings to you. It's this easy to use all-in-one platform, gives you a 360 view of your business, helps you with deal management, real-time reporting, and has a bunch of cool tools built into it. One of them is this new AI-powered tool called ChatSpot. It's like a dedicated assistant. It knows everything about your business. It helps you pull data, track calls, manage leads, and schedule emails, all based off of what you're looking to do to increase your revenue. Now's the time to get on track and make Q1 your best yet. Check out HubSpot Sales Hub at hubspot.com/sales. Lisa, we're back. This is round 3? We were just doing the math. And I feel like we've done probably many podcasts we have never published, quote unquote podcasts, because we chat all the time and do a lot of fun stuff around what you're doing with PR and marketing and wellness. And yeah, it's cool to have you here so we can share you with everyone else now. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to share the journey. The journey continues in PR and wellness and marketing.
It does. And our journeys, they've always kind of had this nice interwoven thing going on, like where it's like you have a similar experience to the different moves and pivots that I've gone through. And then over the years, Matt, him being the co-host here. So, but the last time we chatted, we were just looking it up. It was all about Web3, metaverse, and leveraging PR in that whole sphere, which a lot of us, I don't know, it still kind of seems super untapped. And that was last year. So I know there's been so many advancements since we last chatted.
Yeah, and I mean, AI is one of them, but I think, we're still in this kind of, I don't know if we would say messy middle, the early messy middle of Web3, but we're definitely looking at the next evolution or phase of the internet and web and tech. And whether you're in PR or marketing or, whatever phase of entrepreneurship you're in, it's so important to making sure that you're like, keeping your pulse on tech and what's happening and don't get left behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where it's always been exciting to learn from you because you're so tapped in with, I mean, the people you're always doing these cool summits. Female Disruptors is a whole thing you have as well, a publication that kind of it mixes health, wellness, technology, PR. I mean, you have everything integrated, and that's what I've always enjoyed when we chat. It's like we could just chat for hours because there's so many interesting things.
Definitely, definitely. And I think just with technology and the advances, we have so many opportunities as brands to empower us to do our own PR and create our own earned media, whether it's having a publication, your own brand publication, having your own brand podcast, doing things within your brand, like a brand, having a brand journalism type of outlook. And then also doing the traditional outreach where you're guesting and going in front of new audiences. But there's so much that a brand can do on their own to get social proof and earn media. That's in addition to outreach to journalists and earning media.
Mm. Yeah, earned media. I know we use like different terms sometimes. So I'm always learning from you because you come from this PR background and you have such a history there. You've been a professor teaching it as well. So it's like you've worked with all these different interesting companies and you've brought a lot of people to this podcast. So thank you. One coming up pretty soon here, Dr. Savage. So can't wait to share him as well. But how about you catch us up and kind of do like a short little synopsis of like what the last maybe year or two have been for you? Because I know you've transitioned from agency life to some new stuff. And then let's pivot into kind of like this theme that we were talking about, which is essentially your definition and how you see PR, because it's different than what's normally said. So I think I want to like break that little mental construct or whatever that people might have
Yeah.
around PR.
Yeah. So I've been in the PR industry for 20 plus years. When I started out, it was pre-digital for the most part. Digital was just coming on the scene, but what the way that I was taught PR and the way that I started my agency was based on traditional public relations, and that's still definitely the foundation. And as I developed my PR agency and grew and expanded, I was always looking at technology and how you could make things different in PR than the way it had been and not changed for over 100 years. So I
Wow.
was always innovative in my PR practice, and whether it was adding visuals, whether it was tapping into search engines, whether it was tapping into social media included in the PR strategy, I was always doing that at my agency, which was keeping it one step ahead, making us, stand out and differentiate ourselves from the competition, from PR professionals and agencies. Really helped during the Great Recession differentiate when
Mm,
all budgets were being dropped, and if they're going to keep PR, they need to have a really good reason to keep it.
yeah.
And during the Great Recession, that's when I was integrating SEO and social media into the mix of public relations, and that really helped. Good news, bad news. When you're an innovative and you're staying ahead of the curve, there's a lot of education that needs to be done
Oh
for
yeah.
prospects, clients, your team, to make sure that they're doing the best practices that are new and innovative, that are keeping you different, right, and setting you apart. So that led to me writing a book. That led to me doing a lot of workshops and doing a lot of speaking at different conferences, SEO conferences, on SEO through the lens of a PR professional, social media marketing conferences,
Mm,
using social media for PR. And that I love it. I'm passionate about it. And in 2020, I just realized that all of these things that I was doing, even though I had a book, even though I was teaching workshops, I felt that I had to take a step back and say, okay, is it really worth it to go one to one and do these done for you services? Or should I take all of this that I'm doing and training, and do it one to many and create digital courses and digital trainings and make it more available and accessible to in-house teams, to marketing professionals, PR professionals. And so that's what I've been working on for the past about a year and a half, and really taking the time to explore Web3, what's happening with the whole roller coaster of crypto and the metaverse and technologies like AI. And also, you mentioned Female Disruptors was this little magazine that I started, and really looking at taking that to the next level. And so it gave me time to take a step back and see where everything was going, do the research, and then come to offer some of these new trainings and new techniques to PR and marketing professionals, and also keeping your wellness and your
mm-hmm.
mindset is so important, and self care. And it like I do. Like Web3 is
Oh my
10
gosh.
times more dangerous to your your brain and stress and anxiety, because it's this 24/7 new thing, and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon
Mm.
to it, so nobody wants to miss anything. So yeah, so the journey over the past year and a half is really taking a step back and moving away from the one to one done for you services. I still do audits and consulting and teaming up and collaborations, but looking at really how can I take my practice, my PR, modern PR secrets and PR secret practice, and show the masses how to do it, and then also keep in mind that in order to really be successful, keeping your wellness in check with it.
And that's where it's a great blend, and that's where we've connected, you and I, for so many years. I mean, we met through my podcasting mastermind, and I guess the training that came before that, but in Orlando, Florida, at Podfest, and that was like right before the pandemic. It was like the last event I think in the U.S. or something before uh,
Exactly, yeah.
everything shut
And
down. Yeah.
that's a great example of, me being from the public relations background, how much I believe in, for example, the audio experience and podcasting as part of the public relations practice. And there, whether it's guesting or hosting your own podcast, like I'm such a believer in that. And now, we'll talk about that,
Mhm.
also is just how podcasting and technology, what's happened in the past year and a half has it's amazing, and it's made it more accessible. You can be more efficient, more productive, more professional, and it's just a really exciting time to be in public relations, and you don't have to have a large budget to do a lot of these things that,
Mhm.
just going back to, like, we talked on earning media, like, what does that mean? Earned media.
Yeah.
And earned media is much more valuable. Earned media is basically media that you earn. You don't pay for it. It's not advertising. It's not an advertising campaign. You either earn it through, somebody hears about it. It's a third party type of endorsement, credibility. I'm a guest with you. You're a guest with me. You kind of had to earn your way to be the guest, and vice
Hmm.
versa. I had to earn my way to be a guest on your show. It's not just an automatic thing. And when somebody hears you in an interview or reads about you or something like that, it's much different than seeing an ad. And advertising definitely matters, but you need to have a balance of the two,
Yeah.
the advertising media, paid media, and earned media.
I feel like it's like an intent thing, and well, there's a couple things because it's like there's the perspective of, us being the creator of this media, and then we have the side of the, I guess, the consumer of the, or the observer, reader, listener, watcher. And there's a perception when it's earned rather than a paid ad that might be pushing at you, pushing a message.
So somebody's going to say, "Hey, I heard you on Hustle and Flowchart." Somebody's not going to say, "Oh, hey, I saw your Facebook ad."
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's just not social proof. It's
I've been told
great.
that before, but that was more because like we were just everywhere putting ads all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
But
it's also like you're
yeah,
not going to use that as social proof on, like, the
no.
footer of your website as seen on Facebook,
Yeah, as seen on all the ad platforms.
Exactly,
Yeah.
as seen on Google.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
True. Yeah. Yeah, no, and see that's a good point. I love the distinctions that you make around earned media because there's a lot of terms for it. When I'm teaching podcasting, it's like podcast guesting. It's all the different blog posts or things you can get featured on top lists. Like I've been featured many times on like the top, 10 marketing podcasts, and it's earned through like sometimes it's outreach to these people and figure out some kind of way to give value to them. It's usually they're looking for content, but then like that spider webs across the web is online, to different sites. So it's pretty cool. It's like you can earn media in a handful of places, and then it starts to do this like network effect thing.
Yeah, I mean, the lists are great. I mean, sometimes you have to pay to enter to be considered as in the list. Like, my husband's a builder in Orlando, and
Hmm.
we have the Orlando Business Journal, and they do their list every week of the top builders or top banks or whatever it is, the theme of the week. And it's worth it to submit to be considered, because
Yeah.
if you make the list, I mean, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to make the list, but you're thrown in there to be considered. And then that's something that somebody can't take that away from you, that you were
No.
in the top 40 or top 10 builders, or for you, the top podcasts. And I mean, perception is reality. Nobody knows behind the scenes like exactly how that went down, but I mean, typically it's earned because you had to be considered to be,
Hmm.
to get that media interview, or to get considered for the list, or to get featured as in a product roundup, or
Yeah.
get, yeah, get featured as a, just an opinion, and a thought leadership quote on maybe like where the industry is going in XYZ.
Yeah, and that's where I've been told, like in podcasts specifically, maybe it was you or maybe it's Chris Krimitsos over at Podfest, but it's like these awards that they give out in different industries, like there's podcasting awards that you can submit your podcast to. Or I'm sure this is the case for like blogs or whatever else as well, but they're all niche. Like there's little industries and there's not a lot of competition. Like not a lot of people know of these things. And when you do that, now you have an award, but also you're getting featured in some places that can then get picked up by another place, and then it's like this whole spider web thing happens again. So
Yeah, definitely. And, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about it. But like typically, if you start, maybe your first, you get on a list, or you get an award, and you get like a little bit of a mention, just media mentions, we call them. And then those little media mentions could be just like the little nugget that leads, to the next opportunity from
yeah.
maybe a journalist that might see it, or maybe that just validates why they should interview you for, this next opportunity. So those little things all create this foundation that really make a difference. And it could also be the opposite. You could just get this, like, get really lucky and get interviewed by the top tier media for, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, or, something like that, where it, and then it's awesome, but the part that's not awesome is that then you think, like, oh, this is so easy, I can get interviewed by the top
Uh-huh.
tier media my first try, and then it's really hard to replicate that and, like, keep that level of, like, standard going. You have to have very realistic expectations that that's not going to happen every month.
Yeah, that is very true. It can go in waves, or you just got lucky. And I know there's a lot of ways to, like Haro, help a reporter out just to kind of get on the radar of some folks in media.
Yeah, like, there's a lot, like, Haro is a great example
Uh-huh.
where, journalists are just looking for sources, and, Haro is somewhere where journalists will, like, say, oh, I'm doing the story on this and I need experts on, you know, maybe like self-care gifts for Christmas or
Yeah.
something like that. And, just it's a lot, it's time consuming. You have to completely monitor it. And then if you are submitting, whether it's Haro or something like that, the advice that, this is a best practice that we did, internally at the agency, is that you want to make sure that you immediately submit. So the
Hmm.
reporters and media will say that, they'll get their first 10 responses. And then if they feel like they have, like, a good, they'll stop looking. So
Yep.
if you're not one of the first to submit, or if you get an inquiry from the media, like, you want to immediately, like, let them know, hey, I got this and I'll get back to you in, like, the quickest amount of time possible. But if they don't hear an answer, they'll just move on.
Mm.
So it's the media cycle is very quick. Journalists are typically on, like, really short deadlines, and, they're not going to wait around for your answer. They're just going to move on to the next person on their list. So that's just something to keep in mind. And it could be super frustrating if you're an PR agency and you're working with clients, and, if you're listening and you're on the client side and you're working with an agency, how critical it is to be super responsive and very engaging with your, whether it's your in-house PR staff or a PR agency or somebody that's working on behalf of you to try to get you media coverage, because they're at the mercy of the media. And when they get a request, it needs to be acted on immediately. Otherwise, you'll lose it.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I've heard the same thing. It's nice to have someone, and if it's not you, someone on your team that's just managing these things. Are always, the alerts are going to them. They can respond. Maybe they could respond with, a one sheeter or something that at least gives them some substance around your expertise, and then from
Yeah.
there, then it's yeah, clarify, maybe answer something specifically ASAP.
Exactly. Just so they know someone's on the other end of that email,
Yep,
because a lot of times, if you have on your media center of your website, or you have the contact, it's info at,
yep,
that's not a name. It's kind of like, is somebody
not
actually going to
personal.
get it? Is somebody going to answer?
Yeah, I was going to give a resource because I heard this. I think it was in the podcast group we're in, the one that, yeah, we just wrapped up. But quoted, have you ever used that?
No.
QWOTED. It's like a Haro alternative, is what someone was saying. So,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
bunch of them that, sometimes they're, like, very, vertical specific. There's some just for podcasts that I
Mm,
get an email, like, once a week, that podcasts that are looking for guests. And if you fit that, what they're looking for, their theme, then, you can submit right from the email. So there's a lot
mm,
of different, those types of, like, feeders. But I also recommend just, creating your own hit list, top 10 hit list of where you'd like to end up maybe in the next year, and keep it short and very focused, and keep the journalist or the media on that end of it, keep them engaged, not just, like, trying to sell them your story, but keep them engaged with helpful things that, maybe you're sharing their story, liking their story, maybe sending them a report they might be interested in, doing everything that you can to really help them out and create a relationship with them, because that really is ultimately, like, the best thing to do. It's not always, 100% necessary to get every positive outcome, but the
mm.
more you can create this trusted relationship with the media on the other side of, that would be, like, a good fit for your audience, and you would be a good fit for their audience, vice versa. They see that fit.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I like that. And creating a kind of a referral network of opportunities. Once you land a few of these, establish the relationship. It's kind of similar to podcasting too, right? It's like,
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this, like, right before we came on, and, today versus 10 years ago versus 20 years ago, but even like the past 5 to 10 years, like, I mean, really, like influencers could be considered journalists. Like
Mm.
I can, everyone is really their own journalist. And if they have a following and they're just recommending something or sharing a story to their network, I mean, all of that really helps. So, looking at influencers as, potential relationship building and, letting them know, hey, like you might like this product or you might like to know this about my brand, is really just as valuable as reaching out to, an editor, a writer, or a producer that, would also be like for more of like traditional or digital media.
Well, let's do this really fast. I'm curious of how, because you have a different perspective when it comes to PR, and I want to tackle this one ASAP because we gave some good actionable tips already, and people are probably like, okay, that's a great idea. Pop, pop, pop. That's something to do. That's a little campaign I can run, or should it be? So I want to get your definition of what PR is and isn't. And like,
Yes.
what are most people getting wrong? Or maybe there's some kind of rewiring we got to do so we can do this effectively.
My biggest thing with public relations, and like I said, PR is earned media. It could be considered social proof, and it's something that's more editorialized versus advertorial. It's not paid for typically. So the one thing is that public relations is it's never a campaign. It's never like, oh, let me just try out one PR campaign and see how it works. Where you can definitely do that with advertising. There, it's campaigns that have a start and a finish. So with public relations, I like to say PR is a business practice. It's always on. It's like you're always going to do accounting regularly. You have the bookkeeping and then your accounting part. With public relations, it's something that it's an effort that's always, there's always some sort of outreach going. And you can have different themes. And, some people might call like the monthly theme is a monthly campaign. But when I say PR isn't a campaign, I mean, there's not a start and a stop to PR ever. And if you're just going to say, oh, and have the attitude, let me just try out public relations, let me just do one press release and see what happens. Like, don't even do it, because it's almost like your expectations have to be there as very realistic, and that this is a slow and steady type of process practice. It's not a campaign. And so just making sure that you have a process in place, and that, like yoga is a practice.
Mhm.
It's never going to be perfect. You're never looking for that perfect pose, but little by little, if you're doing the practice, you'll go deeper and deeper into results for your body and your mind and your spirit. With public relations, the deeper you go and you continue the process, then you're going to grow these relationships that will become, deepen your relationships and your engagement with media opportunities, and whether it's podcasting, traditional, digital, influencers.
And that's where I keep thinking of like stay in the game longer. Like the longer you're doing this, the more consistent you are. Yeah, the more relationships you establish. Because I'm always framing it in the terms of podcasting, just what I know most here. But it at the same time, it's exactly that. It's just an ever going marketing campaign at the end of the day, focused on earned media and things that can establish you as a credible resource or whoever brand, I guess. And yeah, so you mentioned PR, or press releases, that is. So are they dead? Do they have a place in this? How do you integrate it? Since that's like the most obvious thing people probably think of when they hear PR.
Yeah, so press releases have, been around for over 100 years, and their press releases are not dead at all. They have evolved into different shapes and forms and visuals, and a press release can be a reel, a press release. I mean, you look at the Kardashians, they use their own platform, social media platforms to make announcements. And a lot of
Yep.
brands, even, small and large brands, they'll use their social media platform to make an announcement versus sending out an announcement, let's say, to the journalist to then make the announcement to their audience. So there's different ways that we're doing these announcements, these press announcements, or these newsworthy announcements. So it could be in threads. It could be creating a video on YouTube and announcing it on your YouTube channel. It really depends on where you have your audience, the primary channel that your audience might be, if that's the route you're going to go, and make this announcement. Or it could be a learning moment where you're educating your audience on something that you're not really making an announcement on, something that is like a new product, but you're showing them how to do something and
Hmm.
teaching them how to do something themselves, and creating that relationship between your brand and your audience, and that know, like, and trust, and awareness, consideration, conversion. And PR really falls in all three of those, parts of the funnel. PR is part of the awareness, it's part of the consideration, and it also helps confirm, when somebody's making a decision, should I buy this? Should I do this? It gives them that final bit, or can give them that final bit of credibility, like, okay, this is why I'm going to do this. They were featured in, this trusted publication, that they won this award. So, and then it happens again, it's then
Yeah.
rinse and repeat. The cycle happens again, that there's this constant flow of messaging and storytelling and news and educating and even entertaining that's happening from your brand, that is making an impression and a difference in earning you media and earning trust with your audience.
Yeah. And that's where I love the trust factor, because it's well, I love this whole thing because it really does integrate all the way through. And I like how the stages of awareness. I know there's different labels that people might talk about, but you're hitting them at all the phases. And this work, that's why it's so integrated. I just think of PR is marketing, is probably some core, well, is a core function of your business if you want to, attract more of the audience that you want. It seems like you can almost curate the inbound if you're conscious about what kind of announcements you're making, the content you're creating, the people you're reaching out to, and want to, do these partnerships with media.
Definitely. And I think, one of the mistakes I also see being made is that you can repurpose evergreen type of news and content. So I see brands like on this like constant, like creating content, creating content, creating content, and there's so, and I, you know what, I'm very guilty of it. But there's, meanwhile, this content that they've been creating, they can go back and reuse for different purposes, for different audiences or collaborations, or to help, further grow their relationship with the media. So, it doesn't have to be always new content. Just being mindful of the content you do have, and then how can you use your time wisely to use that content that's already been created. So I see that as a mistake. And if you're working with an agency, unfortunately, agencies have multiple clients, and typically, they're multitasking, multiple clients, multiple
Mhm.
things that are happening, and juggling a lot. And that's one of the downfalls of having an agency versus having somebody in-house that is that is heading up your public relations, whether it's even, the business owner, the entrepreneur. The media loves that they're the ones that are kind of on the front lines, but that's not always realistic. But having one person that is in charge of your PR, that's within your brand, I think is much more effective. It might not be realistic, but just that's one thing to keep in mind with working with agencies, is that, your account manager, maybe has 5 to 7 different
Mm.
accounts that they're working on. And with public relations, it's not as easy to manage and, say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to work on this, and this, because you don't know what's going to pop up tomorrow.
Right.
An opportunity that you might plan on working on, this client tomorrow, but tomorrow this other client had some disaster that happened that you have to drop everything. And then the client that you're supposed to work on gets pushed back. And that's just the reality of working with multiple brands and multiple clients from, if you're working with an agency.
That makes sense. And that's where it goes back to the timeliness of these things. Like you see an opportunity drop, right in your lap. And it's like, if an agency is seeing that, or maybe they're not seeing it because they're not paying attention to your account at that moment. But either way, even if they are, I feel like there might be a disconnect there. So you could
Yeah.
miss opportunities probably pretty often, I would imagine.
Yeah. The other thing that I, recommend keeping in mind when you're hiring, whether it's an agency or whether you're hiring somebody to do your public relations or you're trying to do it, is making sure that you're using the up-to-date best practices. Whoever you're hiring, I would ask, how have they been trained in PR?
Mm,
Are they just learning? Are they learning at your expense because they have to play catch up?
mm,
And so those are just really important questions. And unfortunately, the state of the public relations industry, in my opinion, is not catching up at the speed that they need to be. Like, I felt this huge sense of urgency when I went to my first search engine marketing conference as a PR professional, and I'm thinking, um, I have so much, like, this is like an emergency. Every PR professional is going to be doing the same thing I'm doing. And like this,
Yeah.
but that hasn't really happened yet, even with, I mean, yes, most PR agencies understand the criticalness of how to leverage social, but I would say that senior PR professionals, it's too overwhelming if they haven't been kept keeping up, and junior PR professionals just don't have that strategic expertise. They have the
Mm.
tech side of it, but they don't have that strategic expertise to be like really robustly trained to deliver.
Hey, I'm going to pause this really fast and shout out another podcast that's on the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. This one's a podcast hosted by someone I've followed for years. I've read his books. His name is Donald Miller, and he hosts the podcast called Business Made Simple. The whole premise there with that show is that it helps take the mystery out of growing your business. And one of the recent episodes is one with Alex Hermosi, someone else I've followed for years now. And it's all about talking about the uncertainties that we're living in right now in 2024 and beyond, but how we can take our business and shore it up. There's actually 4 principles Alex shares, and Don gets into it as well. So definitely recommend checking that out. So go listen to Business Made Simple, hosted by Donald Miller, wherever you get your podcasts. Are you juggling multiple tools to run your online business? Well, thankfully, there is a better way, and it's called Kartra. So with Kartra, boosting your income has never been easier, and that's because it's the ultimate all-in-one platform for online success, offering every tool you need to grow. Imagine building pages, funnels, courses, autoresponders, and checkouts all in one place, and now for one affordable price. So the best part about Kartra is that you can automate just about everything. It's like having a team of experts working around the clock all the time, helping you earn more. So now is the time to streamline and scale your business. Visit hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra for a free 30-day trial. Again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA for a free 30-day trial. Now that makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting, like, dichotomy happening where it's the old guard, for better, use a better word or not, but it's like you have the more strategic. You had to think out specific plans with PR. It wasn't as integrated in how quick it is now with the web, but now you have social, and that's a whole nother speed of itself. And then you layer in things like Web3, metaverse, ad platforms, even, because I know that's all part of, this to enhance the PR that you are getting. So it's,
Definitely.
I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting time. So, I mean, are there, I guess, to help folks out when, let's say they have someone on their team or they're trying to do this themselves, is there a framework or some kind of methodology that keeps people focused in, and I know we talked about Haro and doing these things kind of quickly, but any best practices to make sure you're kind of balancing those two sides of the coin?
Yeah, so that what we did, and what I still recommend doing as a framework is, looking at 3 months maximum out and theming out your next 30, 60, 90 days with matching up what's happening. You have to communicate, PR has to communicate with marketing and with advertising
Mm.
and with the business. Like, what are your business goals and objectives? That's what your PR goals and objectives need to match up with 100%. So if you're launching a new product or coming out with a new service or launching a podcast, I mean, what is newsworthy? What's happening within the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? And when you can identify 2 to 3 newsworthy angles or topics, then you have your start of your framework. And then that's what you start with, then backing into, like, where would this news make the most sense besides our own channels? What third party outlets, podcasts, media outlets, local media, um, YouTube channels, where can I go and bring this story that would make sense to share it with their audience? And when you have this little mini media list, that's what you focus on, and you break it down into days and weeks. And there's something happening, for sure every week. It could be a couple hours a day that you're doing outreach and kind of massaging this and leveraging SEO. So making sure that if you do a press release, that it's optimized with keywords, so that you're you're optimizing it for the maximum results and visibility of not just getting picked up in Google News and search engines, but these journalists, to make their life easier, they're using technology to get notified when news comes out. So
Yep.
if you're not using these just best practices, optimization, SEO writing, applying to public relations, you don't have to be an SEO tech specialist. You can just, take some courses on SEO writing and apply that to your PR writing.
Hmm.
And, that will cover then the search engines, and then applying those same optimization practices to your social media to get the maximum benefit of what you're sharing on social. Like, I can't even tell you how many trainings I do, and I will look at and do audits where either the posts don't include, for example, hashtags, or they include the same hashtags in every post, and then
Right.
it becomes diluted, and it doesn't end up working.
That makes sense. Is get discoverable, and do
Yes.
these best practices. And SEO pays off. I mean, it has for this podcast, it has for other clients of mine and partners. And you might as well do the work, figure out wherever you're publishing, figure out the 80/20 of optimizing that post. Because it's just as easy to that's the easiest time to do it. It's just
Yes. So
knock that out.
you'll get triggered. Your journalists will get notified when,
Hmm.
if you're optimizing your news well enough, they'll either find you on social or get notified, by, let's say, a Google alert or something similar to that they might have set up, where, if you just didn't worry about it and kept it generic and didn't really take that time to optimize it, then might as well not do it.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
and public relations professionals should definitely be have a very basic to, advanced level understanding of Google Analytics, so
Hmm.
that you can go in Google Analytics and you can see, oh, this traffic came from this publication that I got this story in. And Google Analytics, when you go in, you'll see, organic traffic, paid traffic, etc. And so organic traffic would be the same as we're doing these definitions and terminology. So organic traffic is the same as earned media, in my opinion,
Hmm.
which is also the same as public relations editorial type of content. So PR falls under that bucket of organic earned media when you're
Got it.
looking at Google Analytics. Or it could also come under referring traffic. But these are just things that I find, like, a lot of public relations professionals don't really think that they need to know. Oh, that's not my
That's wild.
department. Yeah, and it's just makes it so when you're hiring somebody, these are just things that I would say: do they know Google Analytics? Are they using it? If they don't ask you for access to Google Analytics, that's a problem. Like, how are they
Mhm.
actually measuring? Like, I want to see what is organic increasing as you continue to do your public relations practice. Is it having an impact on your organic or your referral traffic, that you can definitely see in Google Analytics? So the problem with PR, it's very hard to measure, as you're
Mhm.
going through the process. But there are ways that you can measure, that sometimes PR professionals just don't take the time to do. And
Yep.
they're giving you just, we used to call these clipping books, and when you were in like a newspaper or magazine, you like cut it out and like put it in a
Oh yeah.
clipping book for the client. And so we're going behind, beyond that in today's modern age. But still, getting those media mentions, you want to know about them,
Oh yeah.
and those also make a difference in influencing Google search, when somebody's searching for your brand.
Oh, it's like those are the best. When you see some new website starting to refer traffic over, and you're like, I didn't even talk to them. It's like they
Yeah,
they picked me up from something they saw or heard or whatever. And yeah, keeping an eye on that, having alerts set up in Google Analytics or any of the properties that you're tracking. I love. I'm just gonna give a shout out Ahrefs. Like
yeah, Ahrefs
I
is
mean,
awesome.
yeah, there's so many different alerts you could do there just to analyze, backlinks and things like that. And I was going to mention too, all this SEO talk. Those listening, like, definitely go check out the Gert Malik episodes, which I've done with him, all about SEO. He's an SEO master, and it would pair up perfectly with what you're saying, Lisa, because it's all about optimizing content, and that applies everywhere. I mean, so best
Yeah, like,
practices, check those out.
listen to that episode. Go, if there's a local SEO conference or
Hmm.
something that you can, learn via YouTube,
Yeah.
but definitely going outside the PR box or making sure that your team is not just, is focusing also on bringing SEO and social media optimization into the PR practice.
Yep. And then the second last point on that point, I was arming the potential partner to publish you with links, like enough links. I don't know if you can go as much as a UTM trackable link. They're probably not going to do that so much, but at least a link back to your site or some of the resources that you would
Yeah, and it
like them
depends
to
on the
link.
publication. It doesn't ever hurt to ask for sure. So always ask, but
Hmm.
just have the right expectations that, their publications have different editorial rules, and some of them like know what, they've been abused by,
Oh yeah,
and so you just have to always ask, but also just know that even the media mentions without a link also are influencing the signals and the algorithm with Google. So it
true.
doesn't always
Yeah.
have to have the link to really like make an impact.
Nice. Okay, that's good to know. That's like a
Yeah.
little thing for me too. All right, so I want to shift, unless there's something that we might have missed, but I would love to talk more on the wellness side because this is like I feel like that makes you super unique in this PR marketing world is your focus on wellness and how you integrate that into business and all the stuff you're doing here. And really, the key thing is to keep you in the game longer and not burn out as you're maybe adventuring into this new world. So.
Being an early adapter, being innovative, being ahead of the curve, I was, probably taken down earlier than most on the whole impact of, digital 24/7. So
Mm.
with that, I wrote my book, Digital Detox Secrets, and I became very passionate on mental health and like, what can you do to overcome like, the different things that the fatigue that you're being caused and anxiety and stress from being in, it's hard being in digital marketing. It's hard being in PR. You could get
Mm.
a call like at 6 o'clock at night, and you could end up working till 9 just to get the story done with the reporter. So because of the public relations and how it's so unique, you have to really have the right mindset and the right expectations. And in order to do that, I firmly believe, and statistics show that you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're getting sleep, that you're practicing things like meditation, and you're really doing as much as possible for the right brain
Mm.
access of creativity, because PR has changed so much, and so is digital marketing, that creativity is really our superpower. And you can't just, if you're tired and stressed out and anxious, and multitasking, you are not tapping into any creativity there.
That's true.
So you'll come up with your best ideas and story angles, and be able to stay focused and have clarity and maybe think of things and new things that you wouldn't have thought about, as if you're taking care of yourself, your mind, body, spirit, through practices like, meditation and yoga. And it doesn't have to be hours a day. It could be a 10-minute walk in nature. And I
Mhm.
hear this all the time, and it's becoming very mainstream to point these things out. But when I'm talking about the connection specifically with public relations outcomes, because public relations today, you have to be creative, you have to have patience and expectations, and almost that manifest that power, the
Mm.
law of attraction. And how are you going to do that law of attraction if you're just completely, a train wreck of stress and anxiety and can't think straight? So if you really are going to want to attract these editors, you and the journalists, then you have to be as creative as possible and be very deliberate and purposeful, and have that mindset that this might not happen this week, and that's okay.
Mm.
But we're gonna look at the doing, we're gonna look at the planning, and also the mindset and the intuitiveness is something that you can't access unless you really have a healthy wellness routine that you're doing.
That's for sure. I mean, some quick thoughts that come to mind is, I'll lately I've been packing my days a lot because I have a baby coming and all these fun opportunities and projects and partners and something we're working on too, Lisa. It's like, um, I was up pretty dang late last night and I've some of these days where I feel like, or if I'm having too many, not too many, but a lot of podcasts, let's say a lot of talking or listening or just brainy work like copywriting. What I like to do is, like you said, go outside, do some of these things, get in the sun, breath work. I've been like this morning, I've been doing this kind of right when I wake up now, when I know that I didn't maybe get enough sleep, or maybe it wasn't great sleep, but yoga nidra or NSDR, like 15
Yeah.
minutes on YouTube. It's like such a reboot for my brain, nervous system. And then it's like that grogginess kind of goes into almost like a flow state. It's tough. It's weird to describe, but
It
I'm sure
no,
you
and it,
know.
it
Yeah.
definitely works. And that's why, just looking at it like, okay, not you don't have to wait till tonight to get the best night's sleep. You could
Mm-mm.
revive yourself with yoga, 10 minutes of yoga nidra, 10 minutes of qigong, something to get your energy, your chi, your flow going. And that will also then help you at the end of the day wind down so that you'll get a better night's sleep. So
Right.
it's these little like micro moments that you can do to really recharge yourself. And Dr. Savage, I've learned so much from working with him that he also recommends different things like taking breaks every few hours. And those are just general entrepreneurs in general, but like when I'm talking specifically for PR,
Mm-hmm.
you have to step away from your computer. You have to take that break, because you take a break, go on the treadmill, take a walk, and all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
you come up with an idea, you come up with that story angle, you can come up with that response for the media that's going to set you apart.
Mm. Yeah, and it's the creative brain, it's the right brain. And it's weird. Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, but it's intuitively that's like when all my best ideas come together. And it's like I had one last night. I was in the garage. I have a whole workout, whole home gym thing, and I have a big whiteboard on the wall, just for this reason. And something just clicked, and it was like a connection of it was like connecting things, and it would never have come by grinding away at the keyboard or like researching. And yeah, I'm sure that's feeding the brain, but it wasn't that time until I stepped away. I was calm, I was relaxed. I think I was working out a little bit. So it's like brain was flowing, all that stuff. They're all good things.
Yeah, like the whole frequency and energy work and things like that help you so much, like not only come up with these ideas and clarity and give you space in your brain, but I wake up now, instead of like I used to watch the Today Show almost every day. I still
Hmm.
watch a little bit of it, but now I put on YouTube and I just find like a positive energy frequency type of music
Mm.
and listen to that.
Like binaural beat kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. And if I'm stressed, I'll find a energy frequency that's for to reduce stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
And it really does like make a difference. And it's subtle, and it might sound like a little woo woo, but there's proven statistics that show that, the difference in your brain from listening to this type of sound frequency and the energy work that you can do in your body with things like qigong, where it's just
Hmm.
10 minutes in the morning, can make such a huge difference to your flow and your state of mind. And in public relations, it can be super frustrating because your client or you might get frustrated with yourself and be like, this is ridiculous, it's taking so long, nothing's working. And I just talked to somebody the other day. They're like, well, we started this in August, and if we don't have any results by November, then we're going to really rethink this. And I
Mm.
thought, then that's not the right mindset. It has to be, look at the possibilities, look at the options, be patient, look at the progress that you've made, and not what hasn't happened. Look at what has happened, because that's going to get you closer to the outcome.
Yeah, that is the outcome, and that's it's again staying in the game longer, and it's that marathon, and that's with
Yeah.
any
And
training. Yeah.
maybe you do need to change something, but not stop. So you make tweaks and adjustments, look at what worked, what isn't working, and make those adjustments, but don't just stop.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, stopping, then you're kind of just laying over, and you're just like, well, that didn't work.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's. I mean, there's so if, for someone who because that's the one thing I wanted to make sure it came across is like, okay, this isn't woo woo stuff, Like I mentioned yoga nidra in SDR. The way that I mean, I've heard of yoga nidra before and tried it, but when I heard NSDR, which is I think the same thing pretty much, it was Dr. Huberman on Huberman
Mm.
Lab, neuroscientist. I mean, the guy is brilliant. I'm sure most people have heard of him or heard some of his seen his clips. It's like all this science is really backing this stuff now.
Oh,
Qigong,
yeah.
it's energy. I mean, Yeah, it's not woo woo. So it's like
No, no, it's
if you're hesitant,
scientifically backed.
yeah,
I mean, who doesn't look at their, I have a Fitbit or you have the or a ring and you're tracking
yeah,
your heart rate and you're tracking your sleep score. I mean, all of these personal analytics are, an example of, you do yoga nidra. Like, I don't know if you've done this before, but you do yoga nidra before you do it. If you look at your heart rate, look at it after,
I
you
will.
meditate for 10 minutes, you can see your heart rate lowers. When your heart rate lowers, then, you're accessing your breath is opening up like possibilities that your brain is otherwise suffocating.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so true. And the flow, the right brain creativity. I mean, I feel like it's more of a balance, but at the end of the day, I think it's like a calming. There's like a grounding feeling, and I know people can think of like, oh, grounding, woo woo again, but it's like it's that chill feel, and then you can approach calmly a situation with calm confidence and clarity, knowing what the target is, and doing that work is probably going to come away from the screen again, and it's discussions with yourself or maybe with someone else, but really establishing what's the key thing so the vision, like that north star of this endeavor you're after for your business, and
Yeah,
not as a
and
campaign. Yeah.
breath is such an important thing. And there's actually statistics and reports that talk about how when you get an email from somebody that is like, you're nervous about, like
Hmm.
whether it's good or bad, you stop breathing when you get
Yeah.
that email. And as
Yeah.
you're reading it, you're not breathing at all. So the breath work and that, will eliminate that impulsiveness to respond right away or maybe trigger you to react in a way because you're holding your breath and you're not in a calm state. So getting yourself into that calm state so that you can think clearly, because when you're not breathing, you're not thinking clearly.
No, we need that oxygen. And yeah, if
Yes.
it's too much CO2, I love breath work and it's a game changer, but I am so damn guilty because of exactly what you just said. I'll catch myself at times. I think I've gotten better. But yeah, holding my breath. And for whatever reason, and I'm like, why am I so achy? Why do I feel kind of, or reactive or a little more feeling, like anxious, I guess would
Yeah.
come up. Are
Yeah.
there are there any tips or like do you have like a technique? Because I know there's a million breath techniques, but ways to remind yourself to.
Yeah. So what I do, it's not really a technique, but with my Fitbit, I do the Fitbit Premium, and there's all kinds of uh, meditations, sleeping meditations that were also like set off the EDA that it automatically starts like measuring your heart rate, and the
Mm-hmm.
breath work is included in that. So it includes like meditations from a combination of apps like Calm and Breathe, and
Yep.
but I really like doing those where I just like getting my own personal analytics and seeing
Yeah.
like how my heart rate was adjusted after doing that meditation.
That's good. Yeah, I use the Apple Watch and I have Weltery is the app name, and same kind of thing. It measures heart rate variability, all the metrics, and it's cool to see these reports. And it kind of gives you an idea based off of your energy. It's kind of like an energy focused thing. It's like, maybe take it easy today. Your body's a little worked up for whatever reason, or it's like, hey, go listen to some music, take a walk. You're a little tense right now. So
Exactly.
it's cool to have those reminders and use tech and analytics. And I guess like so last bit, Lisa, because I know you're huge on the emerging tech world, and we talked about metaverse and Web3 and stuff like that, but AI, and there's a lot of new emerging tech there. Can you quickly kind of give us like how that integrates into what we've been chatting about and maybe some best practices, tools that we should keep in mind?
I mean, so AI is now the latest and greatest tech darling for not
Hmm.
just PR, but you can't even go a day or an hour without hearing some application with AI. And I think with AI, there's lots of very cool applications that you can integrate with PR. But one thing that you have to keep in mind is that AI is only, this, like AI is only as good as the prompts that you're doing. And to come up with those creative prompts, you have to have that mindset of like, how can I use AI in a very personalized, brand focused way that is going to have the best, in this case, public relations outcome. And so you can use AI in a very lazy way, and you can tell when you get something that somebody created using AI in a very like lazy way, or just they don't
Hmm.
know what they don't know type of thing. But making sure that you are using artificial intelligence and actually, like, we've been using artificial intelligence in PR, or at least I have, in ways that like you might not even realize,
Mm.
whether it's you're using things like Grammarly, which has had, it's been laced with AI for since it came out, but over the past couple of years, if
Yep.
you're using Grammarly Premium, you're experiencing how the power of like how Grammarly can help you write things and rephrase things and take what you wrote and turn it into different ways of saying things that might make sense to your audience, whether it be the journalist or whether it be, you're writing something, an email that's going out to your audience and you want a certain voice or tone with it. So I feel like we've been using AI for a few years now, at least I have. And you might, everybody has been using it in some way, shape, or form. But now there's there's different AI tools, so many that
Mm.
even Canva has become,
Oh yeah.
laced with AI in ways that, oh my God, like I was one of the first power users of Canva. And like when you're using AI for visuals or even for, writing, um, there's huge opportunities, but again, you really have to use these best practices for your brand and PR, and just know that it's not going to be a silver bullet. I feel like Canva is just getting started with AI, and it's kind of like when you use Microsoft or you use Excel or
Yeah.
PowerPoint, you're using that. What is like the stat is like most people use like 1% of like
Oh
what it
yeah.
could actually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like that's, kind of where we are with like certain things with AI. Like, I'm using it or we're using it, but are we really using it to its fullest extent? So Cast Magic is another like amazing tool, and
Hmm.
Chat GPT is the obvious one that so many people use. So a lot of times I'll use a combination like of Cast Magic and Chat GPT, and then I'll use Canva for certain things, and something it just depends. Like you can't just, I feel like I mix and match a lot,
Yeah.
like to get
Well.
it where I want it. And I think that's the thing, is that you have to not just say, oh, this is going to take 2 seconds because I'm going to use AI to do it. The creativity behind it coming from you, the person, is really what's going to make the difference.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Lisa, it's insane because yeah, I've been in the different masterminds I'm in, and some of the folks I'm working with, collaborating with. There's ways to stack all of the things you just said, and then create a little automated process. Essentially, it's AI agents and all these different things where you can automate a full on process based on just a handful of inputs, and it gives you a pretty damn good output. I'm
Hmm.
just thinking of like, let's say it's a pitch to a media, someone in the media, based off of you can kind of use AI, but now even we all have the ability to create our own little AI software bots in a way to
Yeah.
customize for a solution. And this is where I see things going, and it's starting to drop right now. I'm actually working on making some of these, but yeah, at the surface level, like it's you got to know these tools or you're going to be left behind so fast, so fast.
So fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that quote? Like, AI isn't going to replace you. Who's going to replace you is the person that knows AI.
100%. Yep.
And when it comes to PR, it's the same thing. Like you have to stay ahead of the curve, and you have to go out of your box. And
Hmm.
it's surprising that a lot of people just don't want to do that or don't feel like they have to. And, they feel like they can just do the same thing that they've been doing and get the same success. And I mean, it with any type of digital marketing, it just is, it doesn't make sense to not continue to expand and broaden your horizons and do things different. So we're doing
Hmm.
an event next month for SVIMA. I'm on the board of this organization in South Florida, South Florida Interactive Marketing Association. And the theme of that event is, forget Google and mainstream social media. Like, what are some ways that you can make traction in these like unknown types of, platforms that,
Mm.
or ways of doing things that you're not relying on Google and Facebook. And so I
What's
just
that
think,
one that you can drop the example? I know
uh,
you were telling me right before.
so yeah, the one that was last night was marketing with GIFs, and it was using Giphy as a platform that you can make these short form videos, and they've been around forever. Like GIFs have
Hmm.
been around forever, but using them to stand out as a visual short form video for your brand, and then making them available, whether you're making stickers or whether you're making short form videos, GIFs for your brand, for your email signature. or tapping into the library of what's available. But when you optimize your own within Giphy, then other people can use them. It could be just subtle branding and PR and awareness by them using your the gifts that you've created.
Hmm. I mean, and that's an example of showing up on a platform. Could be organic, but it's now, yeah, you're putting yourself out there, your own media on other platforms to get picked up. It's optimized. I mean, it's all exactly what you've been saying. That's a form of earned media.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to go through the trouble of creating an Instagram post or creating a GIF on Giphy, then why aren't you going to optimize it so that you can get found by the maximum amount of people, and maybe somebody else uses it and gets it in front of their audience?
I like it. I like it. Well, to wrap this up, Lisa, because we covered a lot. I mean, we covered all the way from like defining what PR is and what it is not. And I think that was super helpful. All the different actionable steps, all the way to the wellness side of it to keep our centered, because it's a creative process. It's not a, outreach to a million people in one day, automate the process and follow up with mail shake or whatever, where it's going to annoy, because I see all this stuff pitch to me, and I'm sure you do too. It's like it's so easy to use, the AI tools and things at a very lazy level.
Yeah, AI is definitely can make you lazy and make the people that are working for you lazy because yeah, I get those same emails and I actually started responding to some of them, like
Mm,
just to kind of test out if they respond back
did
because
they?
they're so some did, some
Uh,
did,
uh-huh.
and some didn't. But it's so obvious, when a pitch is just kind of spray and pray type of
Yeah.
thing where they're just sending it out to the masses. And yeah, maybe it has its time and place, if you want to just get something out to the masses, of course. But do a paid distribution, do a paid distribution on a platform like e-releases. I really like,
Okay.
because e-releases is going out to search engines, and it's also going out to media that actually sign up for the topics that they're covering. And so that's a way to get it out to the masses where it's something that they've already signed up to get, and they know that they're not the only one getting it, and this isn't like an exclusive that you're emailing them. But that's okay. It's the format that they already say they want versus,
Yep.
I mean, what does your inbox look like? I mean, everybody is struggling
Hmm.
with their inbox, right? And who wants to get these unsolicited pitches? But that's what PR is all about. I mean, you're trying to establish relationships, and there's no more picking up the phone and calling somebody and saying, hey, can I tell you about this story?
Yeah.
That just doesn't work anymore. Like, obviously nobody wants you to call their personal mobile phone, right? And
Right.
nobody has landlines, nobody has main company phones that you can call anymore. So it's all
It's
literally
crazy.
through establishing relationships in email and social, and just getting that warm feeling of like it's okay now to like tell you about this idea.
I kind of like it in a way. Yeah, because it like forces us to get really, like, if you want to cut through to someone, you got to know them. You got to actually do your work, get an introduction, whatever it might be. Yeah, you can't just, I mean, obviously there's cold callers all the time, but it's like it's so easy to ignore those. So, yeah, it's a new game. It's a different approach. And I don't know. I kind of like it.
You
Yeah,
don't want to violate somebody's privacy, which you don't want to intrude on their
sure.
texting, or calling somebody who calls people without like a note, like, hey, do you mind if I call you first? Like, nobody just calls people anymore.
Right.
So you
Unless
have
you
to be.
really know them, and then that's
Yeah,
when,
yeah, like there's
that's
a
all.
few people that I'll just call,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
not many, not
Yeah.
many.
I'm happy to be one of those because I think you've done that before a few times
Yes,
to me. So,
yes.
well, Lisa, so I got to shout out something that we've been working on together, because, and I'll make sure that this was earlier in the episode in the intro, but the Modern PR Secrets course that you've kind of referenced, it's more than a course, more like a masterclass. It's like a full on, not intensive, but like it's everything. It's your playbook, and it's the thing that you've, what, for 25 plus years in PR and marketing and technology and health and wellness too. You basically put it into this whole system that people can jump into and swipe for themselves. So give me a quick blurb on that, and then will definitely point people that way.
Yeah, I like how you described it, like playbook or blueprint. And it takes into account the traditional foundation of public relations. So it's not just like, oh, skip everything and go straight to this. But I made it in a way that's engaging, interactive, and not too overwhelming. So kind of like my book is designed the same way, where you can jump into the masterclass, you called it Modern PR Secrets, and you can be like, I need to go straight to the SEO part because
Yep.
that's my weak link right now is SEO. That's what I want to know first. And you can jump to that part and not worry about going in order, and you can kind of skip around and go to the ones that you gravitate to your brand, and maybe where you need reinforcement or relearn something. And that's the other thing. I go to these conferences, and I'll go to a session I went to last year, and you hear something different, or you need to hear things a
Hmm.
different way multiple times to really absorb it and then put it into a practice. So you might also be looking at my course thinking like, I kind of know all this. Do I really need it? And I just think like whether you're an entrepreneur, business professional, or a PR professional, coach, solopreneur, it's a foundation for what you either need to do yourself or what you need to know to hire somebody and ask the
Yep.
right questions and get the best results as quickly as possible, because unfortunately PR is like SEO, and SEO agencies are notorious for like having a bad, what are you really doing?
Hmm.
It's like all under this mysterious hood. And public relations is very similar because it's gray, and it's not like, oh, we're going to get this amount of conversions on this date and blah blah blah. Like you really have to just trust the process. And yes, we want the process to go as quickly as possible. And so this is just one way for you to ensure that you're not going to be losing time and money because you're either hiring the wrong people or you're doing things very antiquated
Yep.
that could have this, could be laced with all the latest technology to get you there quicker and more efficiently and keep your sanity.
Oh my gosh, I know. And that's the whole layer that you always wrap around everything you teach, which is super helpful. I think it's the piece that most people are like, why is there wellness mixed in with PR? Or at least like that could be the impression. Or like, why is she talking about yoga all the time? And it's like, do you want to be happily in the game? It's why it's like that's what I talk about here. It's, build the business so it's fuel for your life. It's not burning you out in the process because you're no good to anyone if you're just struggling to even write an email or show up as your best self. So
Definitely. And you
yeah.
mentioned the word burn. Burnout
Hmm.
is like, everywhere you turn, you meet somebody, or you talk to somebody, you read about somebody that's suffering from burnout. And it's really just, what's an accumulation of like what digital has really done to us, and
Yeah.
a little bit of the pandemic and working remote and isolation and all of that. So I mean, burnout is a real thing. It's definitely, I would say marketers, public relations professionals are more prone to burnout, like entrepreneurs are too, or just 24/7.
Hmm.
So all of this, if it's not just PR and wellness, it's your business and wellness, like you have to keep that in check because you
Yeah.
will burn out. There's no question.
Been there. Been there, done that. I know
Been
you
there.
have
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's why we've connected so much over the
Yeah.
years. We're like, wow, you
Yeah.
burned out that way too. I did too. And then that's happened a few other times. But but there's always a comeback, and like you
Yes.
can, the faster you're in this practice, because it is a practice, just like you said with yoga. Business is a practice. Breath work practice. Shoot, sleeping practice. Like, get really good at this shit, because if you don't, then something's going to take you out when you probably don't realize it. And yeah, you're not fully equipped for it. And that's where it gets easier. I feel like with that practice, the more you're working that muscle. So I want to shout out just a quick URL, since it's on top of my mind right now, to go get that Modern PR Secrets course, and we'll make sure you're getting the best deal or whatever it is at whatever time. But make sure to go to hustleandflowchart.com/MPS. Let's do that. So hustleandflowchart.com/MPS, just a little short thing, and that'll redirect to Lisa's stuff, just since
Awesome.
I
Thank
don't have
you.
that
Thanks
URL.
for sharing that.
Of course. And Social PR Secrets, your podcast. I'm so happy that you've rebooted that into what, season
Reboot. Yep.
3?
Season 3.
Yeah. So go check it out. I've been on there. Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, yes, definitely.
um,
Yeah, we cover topics public relations, marketing, and also wellness and productivity, efficiency. So yeah, there's something for everybody there if
Oh yeah.
you're, especially if you're in marketing or an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah. Go do it. Go follow her. Go leave a comment. All right. I don't ask for this enough, but it's like leave a comment and a review. I guess that's where I'm asking. Go leave a review on this show. Talk about Lisa, what you learned, and go find hers. Subscribe and go leave a review over there because it's some good stuff. And this is the long term journey, so it's not just a campaign. Just take that out of your mind. It's a practice.
It's a
So
practice. It's a practice. And if you leave a review, then I feel like we earned it, and that's earned media.
yeah, I like it. I like it. There you go. All right, Lisa. Well, we'll do
Thanks,
this
Joe.
again sooner than later. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.